Friends, welcome to my workplace at Ranaghat, West Bengal, India. In this video, I am going to share two white cataracts. This is the first one. The incisions have been made. The capsule has been stained with trypan blue dye, and the anti-capsule is incised with a 26 gauge bend needle. And there is no leakage of any lens matter. So this is a non-intumescent cataract, and I decided to do an optimum sized rhexis at on-go. And now, before doing the rhexis, I am going to apply some visco over the corneal epithelium, and see, the visibility improves a lot, and the magnification also increases. And now, with the help of this Utreta, the rhexis is done at on-go. The anterior lip of the main wound is lifted off. Keeping it lifted off, the capsular tag is guided all around, and the rhexis is completed. This is an adequate size rhexis of about 5.5 millimeter. And now, do we need hydrodissection in this case? See, without hydro, the lens mass rotates, so we don't need hydro. And now, bevel down, some superficial cortical lens matter is removed, and now the handpiece is turned. Bevel is made up towards the cornea, and then watch the submarine job. The tip is buried into the substance of the nucleus, goes through the nucleus towards the opposite equator, crosses the central part, and the nucleus is chopped into two heminuclei. Each heminucleus is then subdivided into smaller fragments. In this case, I decided to emulsify the two fragments, then go to the other heminucleus. And now, I try to chop this heminucleus, but it hasn't caused a complete free fragment. And now see, if the fragments are joined to each other, how to separate those fragments? Watch it here. Tilt it, apply energy at the junction of the two fragments, and they become separate. And then emulsify each fragment. Ultrasonic energy in this case was 65%. Flow rate is 40 ml per minute, and vacuum is 400 millimeter of mercury. This is the last nuclear fragment. Antechamber is very stable. Posterior capsule is far behind. Now see, there are two small nuclear fragments, and before you remove the cortex, you must remove these two small fragments, and then remove the cortex. This is a 23 gauge Simcoe cannula. It's a very slender Simcoe, and it goes through a small sideboard. The subincisional cortex is being removed, going through the side port. And now this is hydroimplantation. The antechamber is kept formed by irrigating fluid, and the lens is implanted in the capsular bag. And then the side ports are hydrated and the case is concluded. Now let us observe another case. This is the second case, and this case appears an intumescent cataract. See what happens. As I make a puncture, some liquefied lens matter comes out, indicating there is high intralenticular pressure. And whenever there is high intralenticular pressure, it is either an intumescent cataract or a Morgagnonian cataract. In Morgagnonian cataract, it is milky fluid. All the milky fluid starts coming out. But in intumescent cataracts, these are all cortex, and it is not milky fluid. So in intumescent cataract, flaky cortical lens matter is there, but in Morgagnonian cataract, the cortex and epinucleus has turned into a milky fluid, and this is an intumescent cataract, not an Morgagnonian cataract. After decreasing the intralenticular pressure by aspirating some lens matter, visco is injected, a Vanna scissor is taken, and a small cut is made at the margin of the minirexis. And then a utrata forceps is taken. The patient is under topical. The capsular tag is held, and the minirexis is enlarged into an optimum sized rexis. Now as I go at 9 o'clock, it tends to go to periphery, and this is a sudden jerky movement to tame the outward movement of the rexis. This is a rexis on the smaller size. This is about 5 millimeter rexis, but we can manage this case with this rexis. After aspirating some cortical lens matter, we find a hard nucleus, and at this time I am thinking that the rexis should have been little larger. But whenever the rexis is 5 millimeter, we can manage a hard nucleus. We just have to divide the nucleus into smaller pieces in the capsular bag and then start emulsifying. In this case, this heminucleus has been divided into 3 fragments, and now each fragment is being emulsified. Ultrasonic energy used in this case is 70%. Flow rate is 40 ml per minute, and vacuum is 400 millimeter of mercury. The machine being used is Oatley Cataracts 3. This is last but one fragment. At this time we must see the behavior of the posterior capsule. Is it tending to come upward? Is there any surge? Is the anterior chamber stability is okay? All these things must be taken care of. If everything is fine, we can emulsify the nuclear fragments. For the last piece, we can decrease the vacuum, but in this case it was not required. And now visco 2% hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose is injected, and the lens matter is being removed. This is a 23 gauge Simcoe cannula. These surgeries have been done few weeks back. This is a very hard time all over the world. We have lot of worries. COVID-19 pandemic is engulfing the world. I am locked in a small room, nothing to do. Hope this situation will get over in few weeks. My best wishes to all human beings. My prayer to Mother Nature, prayer to the Almighty. Let everyone be well soon. The lens has been implanted, and now see, as I dial the lens, the air bubbles sticking to the posterior capsule doesn't budge. It means that there is lot of visco and the air bubbles are sticking to the visco. These air bubbles and the visco has to be removed by Simcoe cannula. A gentle stream of irrigation has to be directed towards the corneal endothelium through the aspirating port of the Simcoe cannula. Look at this. And all the air bubbles and visco sticking to the corneal endothelium gets dislodged. The antechamber is nicely formed and the case is concluded. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope this video will help you in developing your surgical skills. At this time, just stay home, stay safe.